Hello everyone and welcome to a special Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, and yesterday was day one of the second ever official Marvel Snap tournament, the Golden Gauntlet 2. And we have 100 players moving on to day two, actually a little more than 100, but you get the idea. A lot of the meta is Thanos. A lot of the meta is move bounce. We've got a reasonable number of Arishem. We're not going to talk about those decks today. You've seen those decks. If they make the top 8 or win, we'll cover them yet again. But for now, we're going to highlight the cool. A ridiculous amount of very cool, very distinct decks are making day 2 of this tournament, which means they went 5 and 2 or better. We're going to go in reverse order and look at the coolest decks. We're trying to help you find your new favorite deck, something off meta, something that you can make, tweak, and mess with and call your own. I'd also like to call into question, we all think we know the meta. Everyone, including myself, especially myself, thinks they understand what's good and bad in Marvel Snap. A lot of these decks are really going to challenge that. We're going to start with the only time we're going to talk about Thanos this video. This is Jonathan Liu's Thanos list, and it's just weird enough that I thought it was worth featuring. What makes this Thanos list so weird? Well, like one of the other undefeated Thanos lists, there are 2 Thanos lists undefeated, 1 ongoing, and 1 Strange Supreme. Like the other Strange Supreme, it's running the Strange Supreme Thanos Alioth thing, right? But outside of that, this one's really strange. We've got Surge. Okay, Surge makes sense, but no Wiccan. Cool. Instead of Wiccan, we're running Hope Summers as our energy package card. You love to see that. That's what Thanos did for quite a long time before Wiccan ended up taking over that spot. Fenris Wolf gives you a little package with Gladiator and Shang-Chi, a fairly powerful little package there. Captain Marvel is a way to, like, if you don't fill all those lanes, make sure you win lanes. Captain Marvel and Vision being movable, giving you a lot of extra equity in terms of winning games that you don't really have business, making yourself more unpredictable. Galacta as a big power spike, and Red Hulk as a ticking time bomb. This is a super cool version of Thanos. It's great to see that even though we think we know what's good in Thanos, another version can show up and just completely upend the apple cart, can completely show us that we are still learning. While we do have good versions, look, I'm not saying the classic Strange Supreme Thanos Control isn't good. It's obviously a great deck, but it's not all we can do in the Thanos shell, and Jonathan Liu proves it going undefeated on day 1 of this huge, huge tournament. The next deck is the thumbnail deck. This is the deck I'm most excited about, or most worried about, or most excited about, or most worried about. It's Pib Extra 99's undefeated list. It is the return of Cannonball Professor X. You can still win a lane. Did you know, friends? You can still win a lane with Professor X. If your opponent's not playing move, and when you know exactly what your opponent's playing, you can plan for this. If your opponent's not playing move, Professor X is still a very strong way to win a lane. How can we win a Professor X lane? Well, we're going to use scalers in this case, right? We're going to scale up Thena. We're going to scale up Angela. We're going to use Elsa to make things bigger. We're going to use Galacta to buff things, and Luna to ramp. Those should give us a Professor X lane. At that point, if we can get out Mercury, and with Luna we should be able to get out Mercury, a Mercury Cannonball is another lane win. We now have Professor X Cannonball back, and now you're just absolutely dominant. I want to go through this one card by card. I find it very hard to believe that this isn't going to get a full feature within the next few days. This one is, again, just too cool for me to like leave by the wayside for very long. Assuming that I play this and I can handle it at all, I expect this to be here. This is based off Safety Blade's old Slayer Blade shell. If you remember last summer, Safety Blade had a deck called Slayer Blade that ran Professor X and Cannonball, and it was the scourge of the meta until Professor X was fundamentally reworked. Well, Mercury brings it back. So Kitty Pryde here is our big enabler card. What Kitty is working with in this deck is Thena, Angela, and Elsa. It gives you a card that can get in and out of those lanes for a lot of power. Kitty often ends up really huge here. It's also really solid with Galacta as well. Thena, because you have Kitty, is an extra card to play. Thena also works exceptionally well with Merlin, where Merlin gives you an opportunity to go 2+1 and always have that extra 1-drop to play. These cards again work in very, very strong concert. Thena's scaling up is very good for Professor X. Mercury can prevent things from going into Professor X lanes. If they have a mover and you know they're gonna and you want Professor X, you can just Mercury in that lane, and now they can't move their mover, and Professor X is going to lock down a lane. In addition, Mercury obviously works amazing with Cannonball. Mercury says cards can't be moved. Cannonball tries to move a card, and if it can't be moved, it destroys it. That combo is gross. Angela is sort of backup Thena here. She starts out with more power, so if you draw her late, she's often better. Although remember, 2 Thena triggers is Angela with 3 triggers, so, you know, Thena scales up much more quickly, but still very good with Kitty, still very good with Jeff. Jeff works for Athena, Angela, Elsa in much the same way that Kitty does. Oh, Mercury also, by the way, works with Athena, Angela, Elsa as a way to like get on and off those lanes or get that extra card. So Jeff does that, but Jeff is also really good because it can go straight into Professor X lane, whereas Mercury would have to like move in there or something. Jeff can just be played straight up in there. Merlin gives you a lot of control. It allows you to run Athena. It has extra triggers for Angela, but it's also just like Merlin ends up being a 2/5 or a 2/7, and then you can get rid of cards that really aren't doing anything for you, or transform them into more expensive ones. Like you're done filling locations, why not turn Elsa into a 4? Kind of thing is incredibly strong. Elsa is Angela Athena, that's the package in terms of grabbing extra power. Luna gives you a better ramp. Ramping into Professor X is great, but likewise great is Cannonball and Mercury together on turn 6, so you have all of those things going for you. Galacta is your other big buff here. Galacta being a card that says, my Jeff is now like going to be able to go over the top in that Professor X lane, and there's nothing you can do about it. That kind of thing is incredibly useful. My Professor X is now a 5/5. That like Galacta is the only card that does that in the game. Enchantress is just you. Ongoing decks can go over the top of you. Cannonball takes care of big power, but ongoing things like Iron Man and so on are a problem for you, and Enchantress handles those. Professor X we've talked about throughout this section, and then Cannonball, of course, is the best single lane winner. Professor X was the best way to lock down a lane and win it early. Cannonball is the best way late. Adding Mercury makes this sick combo work once more. And then we have the first known player, no offense to the other two, but this is their announcement to the Marvel Snap community that they're legit. Our friend Fudge has been legit for a long time. It is Elephant Fudge. You can find it at twitch.tv/elephantfudge, streaming all the time. And while this isn't Mill, it sure does look like a Mill deck, right? This is a Mill deck without a lot of the Mill cards. Fudge going undefeated with this is both shocking and completely predictable. He's a brilliant player. He's one of the best cube rate managers in all of Marvel Snap. He very often has like a 50% win rate with like plus 20, 30 cubes because he's just wildly good at managing cubes. He plays a lot of mill, but like this deck doesn't seem like it should be powerful enough, except here we are, right? Let's go through card by card to look at what this does. So you have the Hood. The Hood's got one real use here. It's nice and simple. You want to use Misery on it and get yourself some extra demons. If you can't Misery it, you're fine to Killmonger or Lady Deathstrike it as well. Shadow King is incredibly useful as a way to just say, oh, that Strange Supreme that got big, no it didn't, it's now back down to base power. That kind of thing allows Shadow King to steal you a lot of extra cubes. Even if opponents know you have it, it's very hard to play around. Surge is just -1, +1 is good. You just run it in a ton of decks. It is, along with Shang-Chi, the most played deck in the tournament. Iron Patriot gives you unpredictability, especially important in tournaments. If your opponent wins an Iron Patriot lane and snaps, it's very hard to stay in a competitive Marvel Snap situation. Thus, he is better in tournaments than on ladder, but you should probably honestly run on those snaps on ladder as well. Our friend Merlin is in everything. It doesn't do anything extra special here. Having access to Merlin is just a powerful place to be. Killmonger gets rid of your Hood and messes up a lot of opponent stuff. The ongoing Thanos, in particular, does not like to have all stones destroyed. There's a lot of decks like that where Killmonger just blows up their plans. People run good things in tournaments, and Copycat both grabs you a good thing and tells you your opponent doesn't have it, both very useful. Luna gives you ramp. In particular, ramping to Lady Deathstrike on turn 4 is an extremely powerful thing. It can destroy opponents' entire game plans before they're set up. It's otherwise mostly useful with cards like your extra Iron Patriot card are trying to sneak into Shadow King, but like it's here for the Lady Deathstrike Rampant more than anything else. Although like Luna on 3 into Hood and Misery on 4 is not half bad. Power must be controlled. Again, Surge and Shang are the most played cards. We're going to be talking about them a lot today, even in these sort of off-meta or weirder decks. Misery gives you extra hoods. I'm going to tell you quickly about a super secret play from our friend Burrs. A thing you can do is you can play Hood, you can do whatever on turn 2. On turn 3, you play Demon and Patriot in the same lane as Hood. Turn 4, if you drop Misery on that lane, assuming you win that lane, you've got a snap. Because now you have 2 demons, an Iron Patriot discounted card, and a second Iron Patriot card in a lane that you can still try to win. That is an absolutely crazy amount of power early in the game, and it's very hard for opponents to stay on that play pattern. Lady Deathstrike, again, absolutely wrecks opponents' game plans before they're ready, very often, which is incredibly useful. And all of these cards, Misery, Lady Deathstrike, Killmonger, Shang-Chi, give you a cheap death. A cheap death is obviously 12 power, incredibly useful to have. congrats to our undefeated players. Those are the 3 undefeated we're going to talk about. I just want to let you know that we are giving away a season pass. It's not actually Esme Cuckoo, though. That is last month's thing from the first Golden Gauntlet, excuse me. We are giving away, in fact, the Great Merlin, one of the better cards in Marvel Snap, one of the better season pass cards in recent memory. If you want a free Merlin, all you have to do is sub, like, and comment. I'll tell you what comment to leave later in this video. We will announce our Week 1 Merlin winners, either in a community post later today or first thing tomorrow. We are on to the 6-in-1 decks, and the first one, this is the only Arishem we're going to look at. A bunch of Arishem did really well, some Arishem Thanos, some Arishem Infinity Ultron, but like Arishem, you just sort of jam stuff in. This one is running, I just want to be clear, High Evolutionary for Hulk. This feels like a low collection level player, but they have Red Guardian, Blob, Arishem, right? But they also have Galacta and Evo. I don't know. Whatever this is really, really cool and really, really strange. This is sort of like a tech Arishem with some extra steps. So we got Loki, just play your opponent's good deck, and since deck lists are open for these tournaments, you should know whether you want a Loki or not. Red Guardian, Shang-Chi are your big control cards, and Enchantress are your big control cards. They're the problem solvers. Super Skrull, however, gives you an extra way to problem solve. Let's say you have priority and you're not running Goliath here, right? And you'd want to make sure that you can compete with that Gore, compete with that Iron Man. Super Skrull does that for you. Galacta is just this big power spike. If you can play Galacta on 3, it's one of the strongest things to do. High Evolutionary is here literally for Hulk. Although I believe it is a 50-50 whether it's start game or Arishem start game happens. So if you auto generate Misty Knight, it could hit that too. Next up, we got Zola. Zolaing like Shang and such is really fun, but what you're really trying to Zola is either the Blob or the Hulk. You're using them as the big things, which you double up. I'm not 1,000% sold on the Evolutionary and Hulk here. I'd need to play it more. Look, Go-Go V went 6-1, right? But like in my head, Black Panther just makes more sense than Zola here. You can play Black Panther, than Hulk here, because you can play Black Panther a turn earlier and still Zola it, and like. I mean, I guess Hulk is significantly bigger if you don't end up Zoling it, but fine. Alright, Mockingbird is just cheap in this deck. And then you're running a bunch of big things, and this list is really, really cool. There's not many original Arishem lists, but Go-Go V came up with one. Our friend Ava's back. We missed Ava's Zord, or at least I missed Ava's Zord. My favorite, I don't want to say my favorite, but he's probably my favorite Brazilian Marvel Snap streamer. I really, really enjoy Ava's company. One of the better players in Marvel Snap 2 when he's around, and often near the top of tournaments. So not surprised to see him return and immediately go back there. Why is Supergiant still showing as a 4-5? That is obnoxious. Supergiant is now a 4-7, dear friends. I would have hoped this would have updated by now. I will get that fixed on the back end, messaging Marvel Snap Zone to take care of it. But this deck is just like a combo of like 3 or 4 different things, right? We've got Mercury and Cannonball for the obvious reasons, right? Mercury and Cannonball are an incredibly powerful combo. Then we've got Negasonic Gladiator and Fenris. Okay, that makes sense. We're running Sage just because tons of power on the cheap is very useful. Daredevil and Supergiant as a combo. We want Prio, right? We want Prio for the Negasonic Gladiator stuff. Great. So what if we have Daredevil and Supergiant, which further want priority, which further can be benefit Negasonic, Killmonger, Cosmo, and we go sort of all in, and then Claw as this surprise like steel cards. This one is wildly cool, right? This is sort of a take on the Ika deck that KM Best hit number 1 with, that runs just like a more controlling package. I can't, like, can you imagine playing Avazord, well-known top player in a Marvel Snap tournament, and there's a Daredevil and he snaps you, or there's a Daredevil and Supergiant and he snaps you. You just like have to run, right? Unless you're like real confident, you just like have to run. Fenris Wolf, crazy powerful in this list. And then when you can't get the right big thing, your Shadow King handles it. Like, this is a monster of a deck. So you're gonna like drop Daredevil or Fenris, right? And then you're gonna drop Gladiator. Then you're gonna be like, oh, I just played enough that I can get Supergiant out. And now like you know what your opponent's gonna do. And like if you have Prio and Prio is not gonna change for turn 6, you can drop a Negasonic in that lane, and whatever reveals is gonna blow up. Or if you know it's a non-reveal, you can drop a Cosmo in that lane, and then just be like or you can drop a Claw in a different lane, and then they like, oh, they're not going to compete for that lane, but you actually put 7 power in that lane that they don't know about right now. So many cool plays with this list. Ava is a monster for this one. Another of our friends, Shang Enjoyer at 6-1. Not surprised, Shang Enjoyer is a monster at tournament play. He sent this deck to me like a week ago, but I think I actually shared almost this exact list previously. He's back on it again. Ronin is in a really good place right now. for the simple reason that Merlin or Thanos are like half of this tournament, right? If Merlin's in deck, then it's drawing a card every turn. That makes Ronan bigger. If Thanos is in a tournament, they're drawing a ton of cards. Ronan is huge. This list also gets extra advantage from Invisible Woman. What can be hiding behind Invisible Woman? I'm a little surprised at I guess the Luke Cage is here for the anti-venom, but I'm otherwise a little bit surprised for it. You also have Shadow King for the anti-venom, right? We've got Killmonger and Shang-Chi and Red Guardian to counter things. Lizard, just as a power card. It works well with Luke. Its power doesn't go down. All right. So you've got Invisible Woman to hide Shadow King, Shang, Red Guardian, and Killmonger, right? You can also hide a Luke if you need to. The other thing you can do, and the other important thing you can do, is you can hide Maximus behind Invisible Woman so that you're not giving them cards earlier in the game. Lizard is just a 2/6. If they fill the lane, Luke Cage pops it right back up. Maximus is also a 2/6, so we've got a lot of power in our 2s here. So Maximus is also a 2/6. That makes Ronin +4, so fundamentally plays for 10 power. Luke Cage, we talked about, is here largely for anti-venom, counters some locations and some opponents. Killmonger gets rid of a bunch of things, doesn't have any active synergy. Same thing for Red Guardian and Shang-Chi. Gladiator is a 3/8, blows something up, just a big card. It's here largely for Malekith. Malekith can hit Invisible Woman, then you're a little sad. I mean, you played a 4/9, so it's not the real, but you're a little sad. You need to play it with the idea that it could be Shadow King or Luke in mind, right? But if it hits Lizard, Maximus, Gladiator, you are now playing 12 to 14 power, plus the extra power Maximus can give you otherwise. It can hit Killmonger, which can be anything from like 5 power, or can be 3 power, to anything like 13 power. And then, of course, Red Guardian plays for 5 power, that's 11 from Malekith. So you have all these options for Malekith, plus you really want to see Ronin and Shang-Chi in this list, and he helps you do those things. Anti-Venom is sort of how you play cards, right? Like, it gives you the access to these extra control cards on the cheap, and again, with Luke Cage or Shadow King, the power will pop out. And then Ronin's your big thing. You only get one big thing here, and you run Ronin for it. I swear, I never see Ronin when I play this type of list, so I don't play it often. But if you can pilot it, Strong Enjoyer has been climbing like crazy with this on ladder, and apparently it works in tournaments too. Speaking of Ronin, Rabbit Sweet had a fairly similar idea. Rabbit Sweet is an amazing tournament player who we've missed greatly in Marvel Snap. Welcome back to the tournament seat, Rabbit Sweet. Tournament scene, Rabbit Sweet. This one is another Ronin list. We're not running Invisible Woman here. We're saying sometimes we're going to give them cards and just deal with it, right? But this deck is mean. This deck is just mean. It's Wiccan, right? So you've got Quicksilver in order to enable the Wiccan. You will play Shadow King, but you really don't want to. You're looking to go either Surge, Hawkeye, or Merlin. If you have a Gladiator or Negasonic, you can feel free to go Surge. If not, you're going to go Hawkeye or Merlin to get a 1-drop so that you have a card to play with the 2 the next turn to keep your Wiccan alive. Maximus is here to pump up Ronin. Feel free to drop Maximus after a Suji, so you don't get the negative. Supergiant's playing the role of Invisible Woman here. Negasonic and Gladiator, again, are a ton of power. We're not running Fenris. They're just power with Supergiant at this point, / Gladiator is just really good. Suji at 4/7. 7 is great for priority. You can hide your Ronin there. Not revealing your opponent's cards makes your Alioth insanely strong. Your opponent has to consider that they're going to get Alioth on turn 6, no matter what they do at this point. Wiccan gives you enough energy to do silly things like Ronin and Maximus on the last turn. And then, like, you win, right? I don't know what else to say. This one is mean. Like, if you love Ronin, if you're like a Ronin enjoyer, you've spent your time in Marvel Snap trying to make Ronin work, now is the time for you. There's no time like the present. Play Rabbit Sweet's deck. And again, remember, the link to every deck is described in the video. Play the Strong Enjoyer deck, play the Rabbit Sweet deck. And sub to this channel if you want the best decks all the time on this channel. Tomorrow we will have a huge detailed breakdown of the top 16 of this tournament. We're going to do a quick review of the round of 16 and then a full guide for all of the top 8 decks. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you sub, like, comment, make sure you are here for all the Marvel Snap content, the most exclusive content in the game. Sub, like, comment. Professor Lucci, Prof. Lucci, who was in the top 8 of Golden Gauntlet 1, has made day 2 of Golden Gauntlet 2. Prof. Lucci and Owie, I believe, are the only 2 who have made top 8 both times. I don't believe anyone... Oh, and Sizer. Sizer has as well. Guess what Sizer's playing? Go ahead, guess. I wanted to show this. This isn't, like, super strange. I know our friend... Mr. ELA has a fairly similar list to this. There's, I think Lambie had a fairly similar list to this, running Merlin with Werewolf, Sentry, and Annie. I know a lot of people are. I just think it's really cool that Kahori is kind of having a moment in all these lists. Kahori, with in decks that run Hawkeye and Merlin, is playing for 411, 412 power, and now all of a sudden this card that I thought was going to be great, and then everyone thought was terrible, and I still thought was good, is now like meta. It's like a really good card right now, and got it's having a moment. It's having a serious way to like win a lot of extra games of Snap right now. So Hood is here. You can send Hood over with a Nihilus. You can blow it up or turn it into a demon with Nico, or you can use it for extra energy or turn it into a 2-drop with Merlin. Lots of Hood answers, so it goes in a lot of these decks. Nico is largely here for that Hood answer, but don't hesitate to make a copy of like a Kahori to get yourself some extra power. Just a good utility card, plus extra location control never hurt anybody. Zabu, we're making our control cards. This is ultimately a control deck with Strong and Enchantress, but also making Kahori and Sentry cheaper is pretty damn nice. Surge and Zabu are just a combo in that way, right? Like if you're running Zabu, you should probably generally run Surge, because then you have like occasional 2-cost 4s. Kate and Merlin go together here for Kahori largely. Kate gives you an extra Claw Guard, along with from the Acid Arrow, along with the Annihilus package, and gives you that extra move arrow, which is pretty nice. Well, Merlin gives you a card every turn, and those cards are really useful for our 1-drops in general, but also they help us move around our werewolf without taking up space. All of these little on-reveals, Hood, Nico, Zabu, Surge, Kate, Merlin, Kate's arrows, Merlin spells, move that werewolf, but the spells move the werewolf and then leave an empty spot. Shotgun Enchantress are your control piece. Kahori, again, plays as like a 411 almost always in this deck, sometimes a 412, turns those early cards into threats. Be careful, if you've got Hood out, you don't really want to hit Hood. Outside of that, you should be good. Sentry is one of the key cards of the list. You either send them over a -9, or you turn that -9 into a generalist 5-drop with Merlin. Either one of those is great. And of course, Annihilus is the card that sends over the negative stuff. Props to Prof. Lucci for a very cool idea and cool deck. Again, other people have similar ideas, but like Kahori's moment is now. Next up, we got Roar Watt, who also went 5-2. The rest of these people are going 5-2, so I can stop saying that. This one is sort of like the this is the butt list, right? Except what card got this featured? You know what card got this featured, right? It's Uatu. Roar Watt apparently got sick of dealing with and losing 2 locations, runs a more controlling version of the butt list, saying, all right, we've got like this is almost Thanos-less Thanos, right? We've got Pixie and Mobius for some variants, Copycat for some more variants, and then we're just gonna run like a million control cards at various costs, because between Surge and Pixie, we've got a Killmonger. We've got and sorry, Fastos to mix up the cost. We've got a Killmonger, we've got a Shang, an Enchantress, a Deathstrike, a Legion, a Hulkling. Good luck playing against this and planning against it. Unsurprised to see it do so well. This is one I wouldn't necessarily suggest for ladder when your opponent doesn't have open deck lists, but if your opponent has open deck lists, how do they plan against this? How do they know what your range is? They just sort of have to hope, and so this one wins a lot of games. Next up, our friend the Snap Nation is back with one of my favorite lists in Marvel Snap. Longtime viewers know that I shared this list, like the first version of this list, like 2 or 3 days after Red Wing came out. I was just back from vacation. I believe that I was in Dominican Republic with my family that week. But this is the Red Wing list, like the Red Wing list. It was running Cloak and Craven and Aranya and the Snap Nation, longtime viewer. Hey, Snap Nation. Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you kick ass on day 2. Put Hellion in. Was like, hey, Hellion does the thing I want this deck to do, right? And then added Armor. Armor was actually Sizer's idea. He watched me play this, and I had Surge in that spot, and he was like, that should just be Armor. You're just going to get Shanged all the time. Why get Shanged? Just run Armor. Turns out, Snap Nation at 5-2 did it with this list. This is probably, not this exact version, but this is probably what I would have played had I played in the tournament. Props to Snap Nation. Another deck that I really love that ended up making day 2 is Handbuff. Handbuff is a deck that's always almost there. Hey, apparently Lego Master got it there, or got it close enough to being there. This is like pure Handbuff too. It's not any shenanigans. It's running Shang-Chi because Shang is just good practice, or best practice. But outside of that, Zabu to make your force cheaper, right? And then America is a buff card. Sinister is a buff payoff. Surge is a buff card. Okoye is a buff card. Brood is a buff payoff. Carter is a buff payoff. Shaw is a buff payoff. Galactus is a buff card. Scarlet's a buff payoff. Gwenpool's a buff card. So this is just like the legit buff deck, and it's working. I don't know if it'll work on ladder. I'm excited to try it. This is another one that I'm going to be playing for sure on ladder because I think it's super cool. And props to Lego Master for having the like sheer gumption to bring in hand buff, and then to go 5-2 with it. Next up, we got the Holodome, and I don't even know what this is. I'm not going to pretend I know what this is. This deck makes negative sense to me. I, honest to God, do not get it, but day 2. We got Zabu for Luffy, Dracula, Haivo, I guess, Enchantress, and Dr. Octopus. I guess if Haivo's a 3/7, you're not super sad. So we got the Zabu Surge for that. We got Fastos to help make things cheaper. Fastos, if it gives the +2, can also make Dr. Octopus 10 or Abomination 11, which is going to be really good for Scar. Useful, I guess. You have all these powerful things in hand for Dracula. Abomination only really gets cheaper from Luffy, but Luffy can make Abomination a 1/9. So that's pretty good. You want to do that, by the way, in the Dr. Octopus lane where possible. So you can use Dr. Octopus to clog, Luffy to win, and then you have this free Abomination and like Scar or something to play. And like you just love to see it at that point because Scar will go down to 5 if Luffy goes up to 10, and then Abomination is 1, and then you just play the 21 power last turn on top of your already one Dr. Octopus lane. You can enchant yourself nonsense. If your Scar gets stuck in hand, Dracula is here. What a weird, cool deck from the Holodome. I don't know what else to say. Bazinga! Yeah, someone apparently likes what's the name of that show? Big Bang Theory, I guess. But hey, this is a really, really distinct Victoria hand list. Another one I'm excited to try. We got Joaquin Torres Falcon in the freaking making it to the top of this tournament. No one runs that card, right? Well, we've got multiple demons, which we know is amazingly positive with Victoria hand, but we can also double, triple Merlin spells. Let's change that location a couple times. Sounds good. Let's turn our 1-drop into a 3-drop, or end up turning Joaquin Torres into a 3-drop as well. Like, all that's really, really useful, right? So Joaquin Torres ends up being in this list, and it's very cool. Outside of that, this is a reasonably standard Merlin list. Like, I don't, Mobius is here just sort of as extra tech, so that, like, I don't know what Bazinga was expecting, but it is an extra tech card. Outside of that, this is fairly standard for Victoria hand. But yo, Joaquin Torres Falcon made the top. Hey, I should be streaming relatively soon. I will tell all of you why my streams have been inconsistent lately pretty soon. You know I'm a very consistent person, viewers of this channel, since I haven't missed a day in a million years. I will tell you what's going on. I've got fairly big news coming up, my life news. If you're interested, if you know me, feel free to DM me and we can chat about it. But outside of that, like, I will make a larger announcement soon. Streams will be a little inconsistent, but if you're interested, check out twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. I will endeavor to be live at some point tonight, and I will almost certainly be live tomorrow. And if I'm not live Tuesday, then something has lit on fire. Cool? Alright, the Pirate King. I'm gonna not lie. The reason I'm showing this is because it's Tucker. That's a friend of the channel. Tucker is on the podcast that is releasing probably later today, to be perfectly honest. He went 5-2 playing the Season Passler. We can call this whatever we want, but this is the Season Passler. I've long argued that the Passler stopped being played for no freaking reason, that the Season Passler from the Agamotto season is one of the best decks in the game, and everyone just sort of gave up on it because Thanos was doing more powerful, crazy things. Well, Thanos is brought down to earth a little bit. The Passler got a new toy in Merlin. Why not run it again? And that's what Tucker did, and Tucker went 5-2. Love Agamotto and love to see this deck back. Don't know what else to say. Next up, we got Havoc Infinity Ultron. You heard that right. Havoc Infinity Ultron from Melomark, who went 5-2. So, Zabu and Surge are doing the Zabu and Surge thing here. The 4-drops here, however, are a little weird. We got Absorbman, Captain Marvel, Galactus, and Enchantress, right? So, and Shang-Chi. So, we got our regular control package. What else are we doing here? What's Absorbman hitting? Well, how about Red Guardian? Right? Like, you play Red Guardian, you hit that. What about Luna, and now you just have way too much energy? What about Fastos, and now every deck has either -2 or +4, or some combination, -1 and +2. Like, these things are incredibly strong. So Absorbment is this really cool idea here. Sometimes you're going to want Enchantress or Shang on turn 5, and you have Absorbment to copy that. That's really hard stuff to play around. Really great. Genuinely great. I do not necessarily understand the Havoc here. It makes some sense if you've got Luna as like a turn 5 play, but 2/8s I guess are pretty good. Surge and Zabu for the 4s, Red Guardian and Shang and Enchantress as your control. Fastos because you can copy it, but also you do want ramp pretty badly here. You want to be able to play extra cards like Zabu, Surge, Fastos, saying my control cards are going to really, really take over this game is kind of the key here. Luna helping to give extra energy in the same way. Absorb Man, again, can copy Phastos, but it can also copy Shang or Enchantress, which is really the key here. Or it can copy a really good Infinity Ultron spell in the last turn, because now Infinity Ultron's spell stones cost 2. Captain Marvel takes care of problems for you. Galacta is just some nice, simple, big power. She best buffs cards like the Infinity Stones Captain Marvel to make them worthwhile. Also, cheap Galacta is kind of broken. Enchantress is the same thing as Shang-Chi here. And then Infinity Ultron is apparently really good now because a lot of people are playing Infinity Ultron into day 2 with a lot of very different builds. So I don't think anyone has any real idea of what the best Infinity Ultron builds are, but we do know that it is doing well in specific builds currently. Next up, we got Fry the Chicken. Yeah, that's one thing you can do with the chicken. Why is this here? Because this is Classic Evo. Everyone says Classic Evo is underpowered and cannot be played, right? Well, Fry the Chicken went to day 2 of the tournament with this, going 5-2. How did Fry the Chicken do that? Well, a couple of wise choices, right? Surge makes a lot of sense here. Getting a cheaper control card. So we are running the control package, right? So we're running Surge for Shang and Enchantress. Note how much Shang and Enchantress is here. Shang, Enchantress, Red Guardian in a ton of decks. We've actually got more than like one High Evo card. We've got 3, a whopping 3 in Misty, Cyclops, and Hulk. But what we're really trying to do here is when we play Luna, or if we get lucky with Surge, we can pass 5 and last turn She-Hulk and Hulk, which is going to win a lot of games. We can also do that as a trick, especially if Sunspot's out, and then last turn She-Hulk and Shang or Enchantress, because now we should generally not have priority. Really cool to see this list back and actually existing. I would have bet almost anything that Evo would not be one of the decks we'd see going to day 2. Props to Fry the Chicken. Fertility. Yeah, that's Galactus. That's a weird Galactus, too. This is a Galactus deck that doesn't necessarily have to Galactus. What we're really doing here, we can easily Galactus. Yes, we've got the, look, Luna, Hobgoblin, Galactus, we win the game. Electro, Hobgoblin, Galactus, you get the idea here. We win the game. Wave, Galactus, play Alive, Death, we win the game. Or Alive and Cannonball, and you get the idea. Or, we do the Hobgoblin thing, right? We know we have Blink, we know we don't have Galactus. We go Electro, we go Hobgoblin in that lane. Then we blink out the Electro and hopefully hit Galactus. We could also hit Cannonball, Vision, Alive, Death, but whatever. You're pretty happy to hit kind of any of those cards. This deck also has the Mercury Cannonball combo, which is obviously incredibly strong right now. It uses Titania as an extra 1, both for power and as a cheap way to clog something at the end of the game. Luna, Wave, Electro, it's running the full ramp package to go from 3 to 5. It really must go from 3 to 5 to really compete. Be careful with Electro. You mostly want to play Electro if you're going to blink, but you are cheap enough that you can avoid that. This isn't all in on Galactus, right? You can win other games, like thanks to Hobgoblin and Mercury Cannonball, but like this is sort of all in on Galactus, but not as much as Cheese's Crust did. Great name, by the way, Cheese's Crust, with the big ol', huge ol' classic Galactus. This one is even simpler. It's not like, I don't know how this wins any games without Galactus. It is genuinely saying, I'm going to see Galactus and I'm going to win. I'm going to either play it on Symbiote Spider-Man and I'm going to win that way, or I'm going to use goblins in one lane and then you can't stop my Galactus, or I'm going to unexpectedly blink into it and then like X-23 is going to go to that lane and I've got 8 power in that lane and I'm going to suddenly steal a win. With open deck lists, I am amazingly impressed that this made day 2. I don't know what else to say. Because, like, Sage, I guess Sage can win you a lane here, and Goblins can win you another. And Sage has an even better shot at doing that because Symbiote Spider-Man is in the deck. But that's going to be rare, right? Most wins this deck has are going pure G-Men. Maybe he's better than we thought right now. Our season pass question, if you'd like to enter to win Merlin, is what deck are you rooting for? What deck and player are you rooting for? Remember that day 2 is probably available within an hour of this video going live at twitch.tv/MarvelSnap. Go watch day 2, see who wins. Next up, we got Ian Webb. We only have 2 more decks. I wanted to share Ian Webb's list, not because I think it's anything revolutionary, but because Scream has like all these different packages, right? How about if we ran Lady Deathstrike, Magneto, and we ran Sam and Craven, but we don't run Hydra Stomper? This is like a real, like serious, fairly budget version of a Scream deck, right? I believe LDS fell to Series 3, so I think it's just Scream and Sam here as far as high series stuff. Scream remains one of the best budget options in the game, and if you're early in your Series 3 journey, this is an excellent place to start targeting how to build a deck that you think that can compete for you into the late game. Finally, this was a big one. 20 decks, friends, is Just Chen. Just Chen has an affliction deck, but sort of a little affliction deck. It's trying to win one lane with Lofty for sure. But like how does it win another lane? Well, let me just tell you. Shang Enchantress and Red Guardian. There you go. But it can also win that other lane through Diamondback. Unfortunately, like my big concern here is you only have one way to give negative power in a lane. So what you really kind of want to do is you want to Diamondback in a lane, and then you want to like Lofty and Grandmaster, and then you can hit two lanes with that Lofty, and it becomes a lane-winning threat. That Diamondback will come out early. The Lofty and Grandmaster will come out late, but like now you have to be careful with your Shang and Enchantress and yada 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 yada. But you should have extra energy thanks to Hope or Surge or Zabu. So there are ways to do this. There are ways to make this really, really strong. It's weird and it's cool, and I'm really happy that Just Chen was able to come up with how to make top cut with this, or top of day 2 with this. Again, like, I think that this kind of list is so cool. We're able to do things that we never would have thought of with Marvel Snap decks. And we act like we know the meta. I act like I know the meta too. Like I'm pretty sure, or I'm giving my I'm definitely giving you my best and most educated guesses onto what's good. But then a major tournament like this happens with almost 900 people, and so many surprises end up bubbling to the top of this tournament. That's it for today. Join us tomorrow when we will have the full top 16 decks. We will give you replacements and a discussion for all the top the decks that are eliminated in the round of 16, and we'll have full guides for the whole top 8 decks, so please do check it out. Tomorrow morning, that should be out. Also, check out patreon.com/snapjudgments if you're willing, where we have our Patreon and certain tiers of support that come with honor. Thanks to Bricks to Click, our patron of the month, Abigail Keys, Samantha Burnett, It, Regardless, LAB, Inc., I Am Frostman, Holton Evident, Think Poker, Brian, Ryan Burke, Ryan Wood Snap, Ren Wrench, Caretix Lee, Corey, Kazushi, Archangel 3K, Black Dahlia, Perfos, The Goat Secrets Up, Goatsy, Code, Hallowed, Only Fox, Synth, Fat Luke, Absolute Shannon, Nightmare, Dirty Casual, Mr. Kerfuffle, Cables, Ginger Prime, Philly, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, The Bizza, Black Jeebus 23, XRC and Skippy G, Rhyming Friends, Jessica Gamble, Sup Jess, Mr. Slush Death, The King of Bros, Broke, The Great Kazoo, Werewolf, Kev Ciota, Luna, Ludicrous, Glam, Colonel Forbin, Rob Silverman, M. Holland, David G. Wingfield, Steven, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B., Mr. Craig Sterry, Matt V., Corey, Corwin, John Q, Jimmy Q, You Stout, A Sage, One Big Man, Milkman for Reals, Cactus Jack, A Reapster, BG, Yo Marco, Quid Bro Joe, Snap to Scissors Joe, Dick Carlo, Models Mod Supreme, Pickety Boom Bot, Green Goblin, Unibot V2, check him out on YouTube, Flan56, The Fuzzy Not, Spectrum Mix, Hoot, Ocularis, Matt H. DJ Mechanics, No Freaking Flex, Nick the Greek Geek, Toxic Soul King, Zadrak74, The King of Canada, JJ, Tin Man Falcon, Thorn Newman, Jonesy Snap, Two Ties, The Great Lauren Redabs, congrats, hope it went amazingly, so happy for you, The Pirate King, Tucker, and of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for, Let's Go Tuck, in day 2. I'll see all of you, I'll be watching this tournament, I'll be around, much love and support everybody, I'll see you tomorrow or sooner, peace.